we had some decent games this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of close ones, a couple of nail biters, including the LA Tech and Southern Miss game. I happened to be down in South Carolina with my wife, so I didn't get to watch too much. But one that I did get to watch was the Duke Boston College game, and
How was the trip with your wife, by the way?
oh, it was great. It was
good.
good.
You had a good time?
Got to see our niece, and
Oh, yeah.
it was eat a lot of seafood. So a lot of driving, but
Isn't that the purpose of going
What's your
down
favorite
there?
kind of seafood?
mahi.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I'm a shellfish guy.
I'm a crab leg guy.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm all about crab
Okay.
legs.
I'm sure.
Some crab legs and butter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
All right,
fucking love
continue.
mahi. So
Well,
well,
you had a good trip.
very good trip.
Fuck you.
So
I was working.
well, 18 hours of total driving, 18 and a half hours of total driving. So
fucking bitch up, I guess.
that sucked.
Right.
But I really didn't know what to expect with Boston College coming into this year. I mean, you lose A.J. Dillon, your bell house back, or your bell cow back, rather. But the big addition for the head coach is Jeff Hafley out of Ohio State, former defensive coordinator for Ohio State. Been to his coach's clinics. Dude is a very, very brilliant mind in terms of defense, and especially in the secondary. And man, Boston College did not disappoint. 26-6 over Duke. And Duke, they showed pretty well in their first game against Florida State. I would.
Notre Dame.
Oh, yep, it was Notre Dame. My apologies.
You're
But I was really impressed with Boston College. Lou, what was the game? I know you watched the Cincy game.
Yeah, so I watched 2 games that I kind of paid attention to, 3 games. You know, the main one obviously being Cincinnati, but then I also jumped in, watched a little bit of the Appalachian State and Marshall, and then a little bit of the Georgia Tech and UCF. And, you know, first and foremost, I watched that Cincinnati game, and, you know, fellas, I'm really excited about our offense. You know, I think we have a lot of awesome weapons all
How did Ritter
around
look,
us.
by the way?
What's that?
How did Ritter look?
Ritter looked good. Ritter looked solid. The only thing that kind of drove me nuts a little bit is that, you know, our offensive line did well. They still had a little bit of a push here and there, but there were some moments where I felt like we were kind of stagnant as far as a run game. I mean, we did well because you had Jared Dokes, who was doing great. All of our running backs got in during that game, by the way, and they all looked stellar.
Okay.
But what was hesitant for me, why I hesitate so much, is because we won that game, you know, like 55-20, something like that, against Austin Peay. And the one thing that I was really looking forward to was looking for a complete shutout from our defense because it's all seniors, right? And
Yeah.
so that was something that I was really expecting. Now I get it, you know, we start running up the score, get some younger guys in there, help build that depth on your team a little bit so that other guys develop. And I know Fickle and, you know, his entire staff are all about making sure they develop these younger guys so that they can long last and be more talented once they reach up into these further levels because, you know, Fickle signed that contract to extend it on to 2026, so he's going to be there for a while. And I think they won that game. They won that game the way they should have. I think they could have won it better because, for my opinion, you know, everyone keeps talking about, you know, the stigma around them and everything that they're capable of doing, and I think that against teams like this, against Austin Peay, who, by the way, was only playing that one game, and now they're out for the rest of the season. They're like, yeah, we just want to play. For them, it was practically like a scrimmage.
Really?
For them, it was like, yeah, we're going to play one game, compete a little bit, then after that, we're just going to focus on the off season. That's what they're doing.
That was their third game, I thought.
I don't know if it was their third.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Austin Peay's third game because they played, I think,
All I knew is that
Central
after that
Arkansas?
game, is from what I heard from the announcements and everything that was going on during that game, it sounds like they're not playing any more football.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they played. You're right. That was their last game, but they played Central Arkansas and Pitt, and they've lost all 3 games.
Okay, so, and for me, it was just kind of like frustrating that we didn't completely stomp them because I know that for us to be able to play teams like that, if we really want to make a statement and do what everyone's expecting us to do, we can't just win that. We can't let them get 20 points.
Okay,
You
yeah.
can't allow those guys to get 20 points on you. Even if you're trying to develop your younger guys and things like that, I feel like we got to stomp the shit out of those dudes. Excuse my language, but...
I feel like, you know, with those games, obviously this is Cincinnati's first or second game?
It was their first.
First game. All right, so you have
There's some rust.
first game jitters coming. You're dealing with the COVID, unprecedented times, and you're playing an opponent that isn't necessarily going to challenge your guys. So naturally there's going to be some mental letdown, and you aren't going to be the focus isn't going to be there.
Right.
So we kind of expect those things, but obviously 55-20, that's still a damn good result.
Yeah, it was still solid.
Just not the execution you look for.
Yeah, and especially from the defensive side, I know and like you said, like starting out first game jitters, there's a little bit of rust. First time coming into a stadium like that, maybe not as much juice because you realize there's not that hardly any fans at these games now compared to what it would normally look like on a first time home game. But regardless. We won it. We did well. So I was happy to see the result. I know that we're going to build off of it. I hope we continue to get better. But what makes me nervous is because of how stagnant and how slow that game was moving at times, and how sometimes our defense would still let up some of these things against Austin Peay. And I'm watching UCF's offense. And, dude, those guys are fast.
Well,
like, they go, like, they can run up to the line. They'll snap the ball with 35 seconds left on the play clock. Like, they do not care. They're going to roll over you, and they're just going to keep moving fast. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, we better be ready for that. Now, they're not in our regular season schedule. I take that back. I think they are now. There was a lot of games that were kind of being held back a little bit.
Yep.
I think they might be on the schedule now.
Second to last game of the regular
November
season.
26th.
So, yeah.
November 26th.
So we got Memphis, which is already going to be an opponent. But with UCF, I'm really, really hoping that we stay solid and we're able to move as fast as they're going to move defensively, because that's the one thing that's really worrying me. I had a lot of high expectations. I get it, first game, whatever. So I let that go. It's no big deal. But then watching that UCF Georgia Tech game, whew.
UCF surprised me. Georgia Tech, I was expecting to play really, really clean, but UCF surprised me. They were extremely clean. They were polished. It looked like there was no hiccups. Looked like COVID wasn't even a thing for them. I mean, well, I can't say that. They came out really strong, but their game went like a coach's dream.
Yeah.
You look at the box score. They come out, and in the first quarter, it's 7-7.
Yeah.
And coaches always talk about finishing, right? Go in with momentum into the halftime and close the game out in the fourth quarter.
Right.
And that's exactly what UCF did. I mean, they put up 7 in the first quarter, then turn around, put up 21 in the second to close out the first half. Come out in the third quarter, they don't put up any points, but they hold Georgia Tech to a goose egg also, and then they close out in the fourth quarter with another 21. You'd like to see more execution and coming out of the gate in the first and third quarters, but closing out, and Gabriel was on fire. That dude was lighting it up. I think he had 4 touchdowns, 417 yards. He had a hell of a game.
And here's the thing that's really, I think what's really fueling their flame too is that, they've been pretty solid. A few years back, they were walking around saying that they were national champions because they wouldn't get a bid, and even though they were undefeated. And then now, last year, since he beat them by, I think it was 24-7 last year. And then, we went on to lose against Memphis 2 times in a row.
Yes.
And I think what's really fueling their fire right now is they're probably sitting there pissed off that the fact that people are now sitting here talking about Cincinnati possibly having an opportunity. Everyone's been talking about, I was listening to Kirk Herbstreit and them talk this morning about how they think, Cincinnati and UCF and all these teams have an opportunity to actually really exploit, their abilities on live television in front of a lot of people and give themselves an opportunity. But they have to be doing things like, what Boise State used to do. Boise State, when they first started getting really good, everyone didn't really pay attention to them. And then they came out and beat some top-tier teams on national television on the stage, and then that's when it was like, holy shit, who's Boise State? And then they got their opportunity. And I think that's what's going to have to happen here for any team in our American Conference. It was nice to see that we got some love and some respect, but I think Cincinnati's going to have to keep building. I don't think they're nowhere close to being done yet. I'm sure they're all aware of that, but also watching UCF, I'm sure UCF is 100% ready to fucking fight for this title too. So I'm thinking that it's going to be a battle to the bitter end. I'm excited to see it, but I'll admit it, fellas, after watching UCF's offense and watching our defense against Austin Peay with a little bit of the rust in the first game, I was nervous because our offense did stellar. We had a little bit of hiccups here and there, nothing too bad, but I'm watching UCF's offense, and it's like our offense better not have any hiccups against UCF, or our defense not going to be able to keep up with that offense. They're not going to have time to breathe.
Well, you touched on another game that really caught your interest this past week, and that was that Appalachian State Marshall game, right?
Yeah.
And that was a hell of a game. And coming off of that week 1 performance that Marshall had, I was really excited to see what their freshman quarterback would do. And I'm blanking on his name right now. But Grant Wells, and he did not have a good game. He was 11 of 25, right? He had 163 yards, 0 touchdowns, and an interception, and yet they still win 17-7.
Yeah.
Appalachian State had a missed field goal, but Marshall's running game dominated, and what I think ultimately won them the game, obviously, was their defense. And one play in particular, I think, sealed that game and really put the momentum in Marshall's favor was Appalachian State. Their quarterback, Zach Thomas, had their tight end on what should have been a sure touchdown, and a pure effort play by Marshall's, I believe, safety or backside cornerback, catches him, left arm hooks the shoulder pad, 1 punch, 2 punch to the ball. That thing pops out. Marshall recovers it in the end zone for a touchback, and that was the momentum swing that I think really sealed the game for Marshall. That was a really impressive showing for not just the running game, but the defense also. But I'd like to hopefully see them continue to progress and clean up the passing game.
Yeah. No, I agree. I liked watching how that game first kicked off, because in those first 2 quarters, I liked the way that Marshall was really just pounding the rock. And they were doing a good job doing it. The offensive line was getting a lot of push. And then, Appalachian State was moving around. They were quick. They were setting some things up. And I liked the play calling from Appalachian State's side of the ball when they were coming out at the beginning of that game. But, yeah, like you said, that turnover was massive. That was a huge momentum swing.
And, they also had another key turnover where App State was driving, and you had the cornerback that committed 2 pass interferences on that drive, comes away with an interception along the sideline. That was another big swing too. Now, Darby, I know you were working on Saturday, so you didn't get catch a lot of the games, but I know you did get to watch one of them. All right,
we all know what I watched.
Let me hear what was your assessment. I was really surprised with how your boys performed. I wasn't expecting them to come out that on top of it.
So before I get into Miami Louisville, I do want to touch on a game we were just talking about earlier, because I did get to see the final 10 minutes of was the UCF Georgia Tech game, and strictly because.
You gotta jump in, man.
Well, no. I wanted to wait because this is perfect for getting ready to talk about Miami. But I wanted to talk on Gabriel, who obviously he had a fantastic game, but coming out and saying that they are the kings of Florida, pretty much in a sense, saying they are
really?
the top team in Florida. And I just want to say to UCF, fucking schedule us. Schedule any of us. I think Florida State, and Miami have been begging for you guys to schedule us for years. I know we're a good, we're the cream of the crop, and we're hard to get in time with the office. But I'm sure we can work you in, get into one of our conferences, play against us yearly, so we can actually see instead of doing these little fake paper crowns that you guys like to do.
Yeah.
But moving on, so I was thoroughly impressed with how my boys played. I know I even said last week that we beat them by 20. We should have beat them by 20 if it wasn't for dumpster points at the end of the game. But just overall, I know the score 47-34. It doesn't sound like as dominant, but that performance felt dominant from the get-go.
Yeah.
I at no point watching that game did I feel, even though Louisville came, I think they came within 7 at one point, outside of the first quarter, because I know they took a 3-0 lead on us and then we ran away with it. But I know they came within, I believe, 7 points of us, and even then, I just didn't feel worried. I didn't feel that any kind of pressure. But I just got, Rhett Lashley, man.
His play calling was on point.
The 275 yarders were pure design.
Yeah, and that was our big concern coming out of last week, right? Obviously De'Aaron King performed, but we were concerned with some of the production, and we attributed it to play calling being conservative and kind of keeping things in the back pocket.
I wouldn't say concern. I wasn't concerned about like offensive production. I said it last week that I felt that it was very vanilla on purpose, and that he didn't want to show much. But
fucking ads.
God damn
Yeah,
it,
I was
dude.
like, wait a minute, what is that? I hear
Let
that.
me mute all these sites. So
I was
we
like,
don't
did you
get
add a
that
new
again.
button?
But so I wasn't worried there. I was curious. The only thing I was concerned about was pass protection, which turned out to be almost phenomenal.
Yeah.
We only gave up, I think it was one sack. I don't think we gave up more than one sack that game against Louisville.
Man, that offensive,
I know you've got
that
the stats
offensive
pulled
line
up right
did.
there.
Yeah, so
They turned it up
well,
exponentially.
Well, I think only one sack was attributed. I don't even know if there was a sack attributed to the offensive line because they did attribute him to Derek King holding the ball too.
it was one sack, and it was a coverage sack at that.
So I felt, I couldn't believe it. I mean, because I'm going to highlight some players. You know, Brevin Jordan, who I've been preaching since before the season started, best tight end in America, and finally he got to showcase it on live TV with a real offensive coordinator. That hurdle.
That hurdle
Yeah, that was insane.
If he would have kept his foot in bounds and scored the
Yeah.
touchdown on that play, but that was nonetheless phenomenal.
That was so impressive.
And then you got Cam Harris again with his second straight game of 134 yards.
And
That big 75-yard run that he had, where I didn't even know this dude had that speed.
he
That
broke
top
away.
end speed. Holy
'Cause
shit!
he's a quote unquote power back.
He is he's a power back. We've watched him for a year now and seen him last year when he got touches.
Mhm.
You could tell he's a power back, but he had a little more speed than DJ Dallas. Derek King, of course. I mean, I don't really need to hit on that.
Well,
I think the big thing to me was I was expecting him to kind of run all over this team, and for him to only run the ball like 3 times.
and he lost his streak.
Yeah, he did lose his streak,
Yeah.
which to me shows that he never
Didn't care about
he
it.
didn't care because he never put the effort into it. He
Yeah.
never did
Stumble.
that. He never tried. Well, typically when people know they have these records and they want to keep them,
Yeah.
they try too hard to try to make that run.
Yeah.
He never did.
No.
He stayed in the pocket or he rolled out and he made passes and threw for 330 yards.
Even
3
late in the
touchdowns.
game when you had the lead, he had an opportunity where it was wide open, and he ended up throwing for a touchdown on that play.
And Bubba Bolden.
Those are the
Bubba
two guys
Bolden.
I wanted to talk about.
Bubba Bolden.
So I've been searching the internet here this morning, just in preparation for this, and Bubba Bolden's starting to get a little bit of a fan club, rightly so. But two people I was really, really impressed with, and I think are your players of the game, were Bubba Bolden and Phillips. Those two boys,
Jalen Phillips, yeah.
Jalen Phillips and Bubba Bolden had a game. They played phenomenally.
Well, dude, even Al Blades was fantastic.
Blades was phenomenal, but Cunningham, he did not look comfortable at all. He didn't look comfortable in the pocket. When he scrambled out of the pocket, you had Phillips right there. You had Bubba coming downhill. I mean, their pursuit in order to contain a mobile quarterback, it was phenomenal. They did a great job with that.
Which was interesting to see because that's always been Manny Diaz's kryptonite since he's been with us is mobile quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as Miami fans we were fully prepared for him to gash us, and
Yeah.
he did have a couple big runs, but for the most part he didn't. The one person that gashed us was Hawkins.
And
I mean, which he is
that
an
was-
NFL back.
Yeah, but
I mean,
that
he's
was
a
mainly
fantastic back.
he had some good plays. I mean, the one cutback play, your backside pursuit was a little bit too shallow, and that's the only thing that happened there. But he wasn't getting those chunk plays.
I thought he was.
He was
He
getting
had
he was
a
getting
lot of
he was
10-yard
getting,
runs.
yeah, but not as where it was consistent. He would get them like one drive and then like maybe 2 drives later, but it wasn't to where it was a consistently getting chunked consecutively on a drive, and to where it's like that's the sole reason you're giving up points.
I like
on
that phrase. Get chunked.
drive.
I'm gonna start running with that.
Well, I think we need to come up with a fucking phrase for Jose Borregales, our Lord and Savior of a kicker that we have now.
That's the boom.
Tying a Miami
Yeah.
record at 57 yards.
You know what was funny too is like, dude, when he how long was that? How long was
57 yards.
it? And did you see the way the ball hit the net?
Dude, I don't
He
think
could have kicked that for
I was
another
like,
10 yards.
I like what Kirk said. He said that was good for 65.
And I
Yeah.
don't
Honestly.
and I don't think he had great contact on it either. Because if you look at the rotation of the ball, it
Well, he kicks a line drive ball.
Okay, so he does knuckleballs?
He kicks a line drive ball. He does not kick your, like, a typical
He kicks to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
what I'd say.
That boy, he's got a Category 5 leg. That's what
nice
he's
one.
fucking
He's
got.
going
Nice
to the
one.
league if he doesn't get hurt.
But there were a lot of negatives with this game. Penalties were a big thing.
Yeah.
Even though I thought we were a little picked on with penalties. But we'll get into that. I won't get into that. Because a lot of penalties did keep Louisville's drives alive, which they scored off of, and then killed a lot of our drives. We left a lot of points on the field this game. We could have really rolled this team.
Yeah.
Really rolled this team if we would have kept our shit together. And then I felt our rush defense did not hold up. JV and Hawkins did gash us quite a bit. I mean, look, you know, he had 164 yards,
averaging 6 yards. Okay.
So to me, he gashed us a shit ton. I expected our pass coverage to give up a lot of yardage because we were going to play back and not give up the deep ball and just let them have everything underneath and get the tackles, which it showed in the game, and it shows on the stats.
Well, my one concern coming out of this game, and he somewhat redeemed himself at the end of the game, is still your wide receiver group, especially Pope.
Yeah.
Pope, I mean, how many drops did he have?
He had 3 drops. So I believe
they were big drops. I mean, big yardage gains, open. I mean,
well, I'm not gonna lie. He dropped one that was at the corner of the end zone, the front corner of the end zone that Derek King threw. It was a perfect back shoulder.
Yes.
And it hit him right in the freaking hands.
Yeah.
But that's not the type. I hate to say, it's not the type of receiver he is. He is an elusive, like your typical speed, elusive wide receiver, but he's got to catch these passes. And Mike Harley too. Okay, Mike Harley dropped a touchdown pass that we had to rely on a field goal for after.
I think it's time that you guys have had a couple big time recruits that Manny has been able to snag. And I think it's time we start seeing some of those young guys. I was starting to see some
Xavier Restrepo, some freaking Keyshawn Smith, who was... these are guys that we were very high on coming into camp, and everybody was expecting to have these bigger roles coming in. And to me, we're seeing the same old from our receiving core. I mean, I wanted to give a shout out to Mark Pope because he did improve, but those drops, man, like you gotta up that. That's definitely the best game I've seen him have since he's been in the Miami uniform. But he was a borderline 5-star. A lot of people consider him a 5-star receiver. He's got to start showing it. Yeah. And then to me, like going back on the defense, the defensive play calling to me is still too freaking conservative. I don't like when I think of our defense. I think of our blitzing linebackers and getting in there. I felt like the play calling was way too conservative. I can understand it to a degree because you're dealing with this explosive offense. You're not trying to get gashed.
Yeah,
but
you also don't want to show all your playbook from a defensive standpoint.
Well, but this is the game where you want to start stepping up a little bit because this is a Louisville team that was predicted. They stepped up in a sense that they didn't allow the big ball. Okay, to me, I still don't like the amount of yards that we gave up. I don't like the conservative linebacking, like keeping the linebackers back. That's what we're known for.
Yeah, but my thing is even if you have an identity like that, sometimes you have to sacrifice an identity to win with a game plan. And I think that's what Manny did was he had his game plan that he knew would be enough to win, and I think he stuck to it. And I think at times that's what differentiates some average coaching to good coaching is the ability to step away from an identity in order to game plan and out coach the opponent.
I just don't agree with it. I don't agree with the because this is 2 weeks in a row to me. Yeah. So I don't like it that I've seen it 2 weeks in a row. To me, because it's not Manny Diaz calling the defense, it's Blake Baker calling the defense.
Okay.
Which is his guy, his buddy. And Blake, I'm not on a lot of Miami fans have been on it since last year to fire his ass and get him out because they don't like it. But you're gonna have to deal with it because I think Manny Diaz is just that good of a defensive coordinator that you're gonna tell a difference.
Yeah.
But he was aggressive last year, and I'm not seeing the aggressiveness. Hopefully, I see it this week against Florida State. But outside of that, I felt like this game was a very good game for us. I thought it was a perfect chance for us to really show off in front of the national media, and it bumped us up to 12th in the country. Of course, this is without the Big Ten being in.
Yeah.
But
well, speaking of that, let's talk Big Ten. Okay. So Big Ten finally gets approved, and we're going to have a Big Ten season, and I cannot be happier.
I'm sorry, I didn't have my earbud in. What did you do here? Was there a noise?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I don't even know. Either.
I thought I missed the little cool.
No, he did. He just
and
button.
Okay.
I am so fucking excited for the Buckeyes season to start. We have the Big Ten schedules come out, and my God, okay, you had your two big time advocates for the Big Ten season, namely Ohio State and Nebraska. Nebraska really went all in, balls deep for this push to have a season. And, I mean, from players suing to, like, I think it was their DA, whatever. Somebody in the government was suing and really pushing hard for this season. And I don't know if the Big Ten has some spite, but Nebraska, their schedule is rough. They start out with Ohio State. Then they have Wisconsin. Nebraska, which I think Nebraska would still be favored in that game. Then they have...
Against Wisconsin?
No, Nebraska. Nebraska versus Northwestern.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't even know. Northwestern's usually pretty solid.
Yeah,
I think Wisconsin's pretty solid usually, too.
Well, Wisconsin's going to be good. That's an awful game for them to get week 2. Back-to-back tough ones.
I mean, Illinois and Purdue are like their own.
Penn State. Then you have Illinois, Iowa, Purdue, and they end the year with Minnesota. I mean, that is rough fucking schedule.
I mean, I'm going to be real with you. I see Nebraska going 2-6.
Yeah.
Easy. I don't think they beat Northwestern. I still think Northwestern's a solid. You know, I like Pat Fitzgerald. I think they can. They're going to lose to. I think they'll only beat Illinois and Purdue. Purdue only because Rondale Moore's opted out. If
they still have another stud receiver. I think Nebraska will go one win, 1-7. Honestly, but I mean, you look at that's I think is probably the toughest schedule in the entire Big Ten this year. But then let's talk about Ohio State's schedule. And a lot of people are saying it's a cake schedule, and it really is, and that kind of concerns me a little bit. So, like I just said, we start off with Nebraska. Week 2, we are at Penn State. Now, that is always a tough environment to play in. Thankfully for Ohio State, COVID has hit, and we don't have to deal with the whiteout. Yeah. We've won there before, so I'm not really concerned about the environment, but it makes the game a little bit more difficult.
Oh, that stadium is wild, yeah.
Yeah. Then we have...
You have your bye week?
Rutgers, Maryland, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan State, and all of those programs are down except for Indiana. Indiana has a decent offense, but that's still not a match for Ohio State. Then you end the year with Michigan. That is 2 good opponents plus the Big Ten championship game. That's only 3 good opponents, 9 total games. Even if we go undefeated, I have concerns about the playoff implications of that. I think we may still get in if we go undefeated and we do it all as dominant as we should, but it's still concerning for me. I would like to have had either a Wisconsin or a Minnesota game or Iowa across the from the other division.
Yeah,
other side of the conference.
Looking into this, I'm thinking here, like, why can't we set this up so that, you know, for instance, let's just go ahead and replace. Let me see. I'm looking at Wisconsin's schedule right now, and I'm like, who would be... Yeah, let's just go ahead and take fucking Purdue off of Wisconsin's schedule and Rutgers out of Ohio State's schedule in the 3rd week, and let's set that up. Like, that would make more sense to me. Let's let Rutgers and Purdue play each other, and let's have Wisconsin and Ohio State play each other week 3. That would be...
Or Wisconsin, Illinois, no, because they already play. But anyway, Ohio State has a little bit too easy of a schedule, in my opinion, but... I think we will go undefeated either way. I don't think there's anybody in the Big Ten that's ready to compete other than Penn State. Penn State is by far the toughest opponent in the Big Ten this year, and we have them week 2. But we've also been practicing all the way through this thing, so I'm not too worried about it. But getting into the actual team composition.
One question.
Yeah.
Sorry, don't mean to cut you
No,
off.
you're
but
good.
When's the Ohio State Michigan game?
Last game of the year,
What's the date?
December.
That's gonna be weird.
Yeah.
That's gonna throw
December
me
12th.
off.
So
I look forward to that
I mean,
game. every
and I
year
just
on
want to give
Thanksgiving.
our deepest condolences to Rutgers that you do actually have to play a football season this year. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered if you didn't have Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan on there. You would have gone winless anyways. I'm sorry. I mean, I can't wait for you guys to get Conference USA either.
You know what I want them to bring back? I want Ohio State to do this again because I've seen them do it with a couple teams before in the past. But remember when they played Kent State or some of these other shitty teams, and then they sell all these white sweatshirts that are like tie-dyed though with like red, so it looks like a bunch of blood stains on them. Have you ever seen those?
No.
I almost got a Kent State sweatshirt one time because it was hysterical.
Oh my
There was
God.
a game against Kent State that Ohio State was their opening game, and Ohio State beat them like 66 or almost 70 something to like 6. And so Ohio State sold all these white Kent State sweatshirts that
With
were
blood
with red
Well,
tie dye
they-
on them, so it looked
they-
like blood stains.
They probably don't do it anymore because they'd run out of T-shirts the amount of times they do it to Rutgers every year. You know,
Well,
I mean,
yeah, no, I get that. I just
that's Kent State. Look, they do it to Rutgers. But
I
we're
just want
gonna
one of
get-
those
all
crew
right.
necks.
We're just getting
I
carried
would
away
rock
here.
the shit out of that.
So
Are we gonna be talking OSU now?
yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
talk
So,
some OSU.
Go ahead. dive
Getting
in.
into the team comp, you got some big returners. Obviously, Sean Wade and Wyatt Davis opted back in. So you have your best returning offensive lineman coming back, your only starting returner, and a top 10 draft pick, and Sean Wade coming back. Those are huge. We also have, obviously, Justin Fields, Heisman candidate, Heisman hopeful, and Chris Olave on the offense. So those are some big returners. You have Pete Warner in the secondary linebacker core. He's kind of that hybrid safety.
Yeah, they call it the bullet position, don't they?
I believe so.
Because it's like the
Yeah,
strike
silver
for
bullets.
Miami, but I think they call it the bullet position.
So I'm really excited to see that we have those core guys coming back. But some young guys, some transfers, and some guys that really just fly under the radar that you need to keep your eye on. So first and foremost is Garrett Wilson. Obviously, he had his coming out party last year. He had a hell of a game against Michigan. I really expect him to step up and produce even more this year. He is going to have his catches taken away a little bit. Obviously, he's going to have Chris Olave with him, but you also have the number one receiver in the nation out of high school and Julian Fleming coming in to join him.
Well, and also, I can't remember his. I'm slipping on his name because he has a very unique name. He's also a true freshman 5-star. They just took his. He was the first true freshman on offense to get his black stripe taken away, and they're praising him.
Yes.
It's like in. I can't. I don't want to butcher his name or guess like Indici or something.
I have it on,
You have to know who I'm talking about.
I do.
They've been raving about him. I was actually, because I was thinking about it today, I was going to talk about Julian Fleming, and then I heard about that on the radio today, that they were really high on this other kid, this other 5-star receiver.
Come on, where you at? Stripe off. Court Williams got his stripe off. Jackson Smith got his black stripe. I'm not seeing it.
I don't. It's a really unique name. That's why, or else I would have remembered it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. But so you got those two guys, and then you have the grad transfer from Oklahoma and Trey Sermon replacing
He's
J.K.
who
Dobbins.
I'm excited to see how he plays for
Now
us.
that boy, I think he's a perfect fit for this offense, and he's a dude. So I am really excited.
That's him, Jackson.
Oh,
Smith.
Jackson Smith. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nigba.
It's
I
like
don't know.
Njiba or something.
Njiba?
Njiba
Okay.
or something like that.
But okay, yeah, definitely going to have to keep an eye on that, especially since he's the first offensive player to get that black stripe removed.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. In terms of defense, though, obviously we have to replace Chase Young, Malik Harrison. We got to replace Damon Arnett, Jeff Okuda, right? We have Jordan Fuller we got to replace. We have to replace a lot of dudes on the defensive side of the ball. And I think...
and your defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and we lose the defensive coordinator. But we have. I want to make sure. Well, obviously, I already mentioned Pete Warner, but we have Zach Harrison coming back, or he's going to be a sophomore. And
He's only a sophomore. For some reason, I thought he's been there longer.
no,
Oh, I'm thinking of Malik Harrison as well.
So Zach Harrison, that's your new D-line dude. That's your next Chase Young. That dude, he's a dog. He's going to be good. And then in the secondary, you got Seven Banks. I am really excited to see Seven Banks play. He's very versatile. He's rangy, and he's going to be locked down. He is the next big-time NFL DB coming out of Ohio State. He is a stud, other than, of course, Sean Wade. But we're going to have some gaps to fill. But I'm really excited to see these young guys that, we've heard about on the recruiting trail, that we've heard about coming out of the practices and the spring trainings. I'm excited to see what these guys do. All right, so that's pretty much all I got for the Big Ten. So, with that said, Darby,
Is it time?
who's on notice?
Well, we're gonna go ahead and grab this Michigan helmet right here.
Oh,
All right,
of course, I like
because
this.
I'm putting Jim Harbaugh on notice. If it were up to me, I would have put this guy on notice. If we had this show 2 years ago, he would have been on notice. Last year, on notice. I'm putting him finally on notice, officially on the record. Because, dude, I'm tired of you losing the big games. All right, this is a guy who was hyped up as this messiah for this program.
He was.
This lifetime contract guy, Captain 9 wins. I'm not gonna lie, I've never been that impressed with him, period. But my big thing to put him on notice is not just your record against Ohio State, but you're 1-9 against the top 10. If you're this premier coach, the guy, I just don't get it. And Michigan fans are content right now, with these 9 wins and not beating Ohio State, which is insane to me.
Yeah.
That is insane to me, to be content not beating your rival. And, you're only 3-2 against Penn State. You're 2-2 against Wisconsin, 3-2 against Michigan State, 10-14 against ranked opponents since you've been there. And this is all while having a top 10 recruiting class every year except for 2018, where you had the 22nd overall recruiting class.
They do not develop.
No,
they don't develop
and
their
it
talent.
shows.
Well,
And you can't be a great coach if you don't develop your talent.
Well, here's the thing that just screams about this guy, right? And it's not only the development. Now, I don't know what kind of strength staff he's got there, or who he's got on board, but from my perspective with my boys, like I told you about the guy who transferred over to Cincinnati,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden Fickle and him had beef because Harbaugh just wanted to basically hop on the whole deal just to make sure that this kid couldn't play.
Yes.
Which is insane.
Which shows that this guy is worried about the wrong shit. Like, this guy is caring about the wrong shit, and he's got some sort of shitty attitude.
He's too worried about having
And
some
not only
freaky
that, like,
kid.
he has guys that are not motivated to develop. He has guys who aren't willing to follow in his footsteps or listen to his orders. You have guys that are trying to transfer the fuck out of there.
Christian McCaffrey's little brother,
He's transferring.
he opted out and he's transferring out.
And
His parents were the biggest ones in the Michigan side trying to get Big Ten sports back, Big Ten football back.
Yeah, and so like it just comes to show that this guy as a leader, in my opinion, is shit. Like, this guy doesn't give a fuck about anybody but himself, and it's not only clear to the players, but I think it's now become clear to the fans. And at this point, like, how much more shit does he have to fuck up and lose until people realize that this dude needs to finally get fired and get him out of there?
Well, here's my thing,
I
right?
mean, maybe he's. I don't think he's going to do anything this year. Anything special.
From an Ohio State point of view, if you look back on our head coaches, it doesn't matter how good you do overall. If you do not win this game right here, you're getting fired.
Yeah.
You do not stay at the Ohio State University if you cannot beat Michigan.
Or the
Right.
big games.
Period.
It's not even just Ohio State versus Michigan. It's the big games. He is a
Yeah.
notorious.
He hasn't won
I didn't
any
even
of
bring up you've only won one bowl game since you've been at Michigan.
Yeah.
I mean, how I don't understand how he still has his job, and I don't understand how much longer Michigan is going to sit back and accept mediocrity out of.
Think back So you got to think back because I want to backtrack this back a few years where he was like 2 years in to his tenure there, and all the analysts are like, wait for him to get his talent in. He doesn't have a real quarterback yet. Well, look, you're sitting at top 10 recruiting class outside of 1 year, only one season you haven't had a top 10 recruiting class, and you had that another Messiah, the guy, Shea Patterson transferred in a couple years ago, and he was supposed to be this guy, 5-star quarterback.
Yeah.
That was it. This is Jim Harbaugh, and what does he do? The same thing Jim Harbaugh has always done.
Yeah.
This is the statement of Jim Harbaugh's tenure at Michigan right here. The Ohio chant going around in the big house. I mean, you're getting shit on in your own stadium.
Well, I mean, and I want to give a shout out to my brother Justin, who was at this game too, just like you were.
Yep.
And he was saying that because he was legitimately saddened by the fact that he got to actually talk to some Michigan fans while he was there, and they were saying that they were perfectly fine with him never beating Ohio State, winning 9 games a year. They didn't care because they're relevant during it all. And to me, that is just insane. That's insane.
What ruined them? What ruined the Michigan fan base was the terrible hires that Michigan had.
Yeah.
You had the Rich Rod, and then you had Brady Hoke, and those two.
Even Brady Hoke beat Ohio State.
Yeah,
shit.
those two head coaching tenures took Michigan so far down the pipes that the fans are happy just to be relevant on a national stage again, even if Jim Harbaugh's record is as bad against ranked teams as it is. They're happy to be in the conversation in the preseason polls, and to beat Wisconsin 3 out of every 5 times.
And look, man, maybe I should be putting the Michigan fan base on notice instead. But as a comparison, I remember because I want you to take this on the flip side to your other rivals. If, let's say after the Luke Fickell debacle, because given he was put in a very tough position.
Yeah.
But they flopped under him. Not too bad. Not as bad as it could have been.
Not too bad.
Not as bad as it could have been.
It was worse than it ever should have been.
But so let's say as an example, and Urban Meyer came. What if he flopped? I can guarantee you Urban Meyer wouldn't have lasted 3 seasons because the fans wouldn't have been okay with it because, and I know this out of personal shit here, okay? When they would bungle against fucking Purdue and all, these teams he shouldn't have lost to, they wanted his fucking head. And I'm like, dude, it's Urban Meyer and he's just fucking winning a national championship. They're like, I want him gone. You shouldn't lose these games. I can't.
It cost us national championships, and that's what we care about is national titles.
People were ready for him. Honestly, people weren't that hurt that he left.
Because we knew we had Ryan Day in the fucking platform.
I get that people weren't as hurt, and people weren't as hurt, and they were ready kind of for him to leave. And that, to me, just shows you a difference. And, maybe I should have put the Michigan fan base on notice, but Jim Harbaugh's on fucking notice because I don't think he is that good of a coach. I've always thought he's overrated, and he's never proven me wrong. Well, this year proved me wrong. I don't care what your schedule says. I don't care if you got Minnesota, Wisconsin, Penn State, and Ohio State. It should only be you and Ohio State in the Big Ten, buddy. Fucking show it.
Yep.
So, Jim Harbaugh, you're on notice. I'm not going to throw you in the trash like Rutgers because you're not that bad.
Well, all right. So, Luke, before we move on, I want to address this question in the chat. I don't remember who Blaze Cam was referring to. Do you really think he'll make it, though? Blaze, who you referring to there, man? But, so, yeah, dude, the fan bases are the big thing on that.
I agree.
Michigan, it was the most depressing thing. We were driving back from Ann Arbor from that game, my brother and I, and we're in the car listening to Michigan sports radio, and it was like there was a fucking funeral. It was... I loved it, but it was super sad at the same time because you just... it felt like, they watched a family member die, and they're like, we don't know what to do. Harbaugh needs to be gone, but they won't get rid of him because he's tied down to this fucking contract. And I don't think we're going to get a reply. But all right, let's move on to
Trenches.
Tale of the Trenches. So, Luke, Tale of the Trenches, big men. Oh, you got the theme song.
Oh yeah, we gotta do something. We gotta do something.
You gotta get hyped up, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You gotta get fucking hyped up.
Tale of the Trenches, fellas. This week, I hope you're ready. I'm gonna go ahead and just do that thing where they like die down the volume. All right, so this week what we got? We have. Hey, I gotta bring the juice for this, man, because that's all this is. This is nothing but carbs and
beer, baby.
Protein
just
and
beer,
and
straight beer.
Straight.
Cheers. Hey, cheers to
Yeah.
Tale of the Trenches.
To Harbaugh.
To Jim Harbaugh, hopefully getting fired sometime.
Yeah. Now, so for this week, fellas, what I got, obviously, one that's going to be interesting to watch. I know everyone's just excited to kind of watch it. And it's funny because I think every single game that Miami plays, everyone's going to be interested to see. Everyone's going to be excited to see them play.
I think the interest in us has really peaked up.
Oh, it has.
We really showed some
It's
shit.
extremely because now you guys have shown your talent and your capabilities. And
it was fun to watch too.
Yeah,
it was a fun game.
Exactly.
So anyway,
you guys are fun.
We're fun to watch. Touchdown rings, turnover chains.
Yeah, like
hell yeah. We're the you, baby.
You bring the juice. Exactly. So, what I had for the trenches for this, what I've decided to do is instead of doing the typical, talk down the line like I'm talking just an offensive line versus defensive line, I've decided to go against that. And from here on out, I'm just gonna start finding matchups that I think are worthy of mentioning.
Okay.
1v1, mano y mano. And for the Miami and Florida State, I have a mono, and he's all by himself. Okay? This is the only faith, this is the only hope that Florida State has against Miami.
Standing at
6'5", 305 pounds, the Florida State defensive tackle number 21, Marvin Wilson. He is the one guy who absolutely has to have an absolute stellar football game against Miami if Florida State wants to have any hope and possibly creating havoc against Miami's offense. Finding somebody who's going to be able to make Derek King not feel comfortable. And that is one thing that I think is huge. That is one thing that's going to be really important for this football game. I'm not even going to talk about the matchups. You have a pretty solid center and a solid guard for Miami and a really good offensive tackle at the right side. But I think the one thing that's most important to mention is the fact that we have this stellar defensive tackle.
God damn it.
Sorry.
Holy shit, what just happened?
I'm fucking shit up.
Do I have to redo it? Start from the get-go?
No, we're
good. All right, so, anywho.
We're working out the kinks. We're on week 3, damn it.
Quit playing with your toys.
So, anyways, he's 6'5", 305 pounds. He only started 9 games last season until he had an actually season-ending injury. But within those 9 games, the one he had 44 tackles, 5 sacks, 8.5 tackles for a loss, and he was first team All ACC. He only played 9 games last season.
No, I mean, as a Miami fan, he's the only person that I truly fear and respect on that.
Right.
And Asante Samuel Jr., but he's not the trenches. He's the main guy that I really fear.
Right, and so before we get into this, what I really wanted to do is show you guys some film of this guy's capabilities, but unfortunately, these guys who put these YouTube videos together for this guy's highlights fucking suck, and they don't know how to put highlight films together.
They don't understand what a good
Please
play
disregard
is.
any highlight films you guys find on YouTube. Just understand that those people are fucking idiots unless it's like clearly made by someone who knows what they're doing.
Highlight huddle.
Yeah, Marvin, if you managed to find your way onto our channel somehow,
yes.
Just know that we respect you and we wanted to show some actual highlights because we do think you're a dog.
Yes.
But unfortunately, the guys that also think you're a dog suck at making videos. So
yes. So you need to
sorry.
copyright these assholes and get someone who knows how to make some good quality film.
Something that really makes him even more of a dog. This is a D lineman wearing fucking number 21.
Oh yeah.
Not even just a D lineman, because I've seen defensive ends wear funky numbers, but a defensive fucking tackle.
Yeah.
Nose tackle, pretty much.
Oh.
He plays both.
I love it.
He's more of the 3-tech guy. So
yeah.
Anyways, all respect for this guy. I think if he has a stellar football game, then this might be more of a football game than we expect. If he gets stalemated and he gets shown up by Miami's offensive line, which is very capable of happening because they've consistently shown progress in the past couple games, then there's no doubt in my mind that Miami will run away with this football game. But if Marvin Wilson does something special, we'll see. So, Now, the mano a mano matchup that I'm really, guys, do you guys understand how pumped I am? And give me a fucking cookie.
They're jelly beans.
They're jelly beans. Okay, give me a... Alright.
He's been holding out on us, dude.
Yeah, what the fuck's going on here?
He's been holding out on us.
Jesus Christ.
I'm really taking this thing off the rails. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're fine, man.
That's alright. So, that's fucking good, too.
Yeah, they're fucking delicious.
Asshole. So, we got LSU, Mississippi State. Fuck.
They're chewy, bud.
They're so chewy.
They're jelly beans.
LSU, Mississippi State. For LSU, offensive tackle, right tackle, number 76, we have Austin Deculus. All right, he's a senior, 6'6", 331 pounds. He's the only offensive line returner for LSU's offensive line. He has played in 39 games. He's got 24 starts. He is the badass of LSU's offensive line. He is the captain of the team. He is the one go-to guy. He is their, what we were talking about last time we were doing this, the Troy. He is the Achilles that they call out for those battles. And so he is going to be going against. Now, he plays either side, so he's a defensive end, so he's going to be on either side. But what I'm interested to see is when these guys go up against each other. Now, for Mississippi State, defensive end number 42, Marquise Spencer. He's also a senior, 6'4", 300 pounds. He's played in 42 games. He's had 13 starts. He has 76 tackles, 4 sacks, though. So what I'm curious to see is how these two match up. I think these guys are going to be going at it, and I'm really, really excited to see it. Plus, with the SEC football coming back, things like that, and I've always had a little bit of respect for Mississippi State. Those guys can play. I'm really, really excited to see these guys play at some point moving forward. In the next couple Tales of Trenches, I'll be able to throw, hopefully, some solid film up and stuff like that to command these guys' attributes.
The thing that really intrigues me about that matchup in particular is you look at Marquise's stat line, and that's a lot of tackles, but not very many sacks. That makes it sound like he's very much dedicated as a run stopper.
Yeah.
And I think that's really where LSU is going to have to lean with a new quarterback, and I think that is going to be a key matchup for sure because Mississippi State's going to have to stop the run.
I think so too.
And if I had to pick one game, I think that's an upset alert game. LSU dealing with pretty much their entire team having COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You have the 14 guys leaving for the NFL draft. You have all the guys that opted out.
Yep.
I think LSU is on upset alert this week, man.
Yep.
Darby, what say you?
On what?
On LSU.
Strictly LSU?
LSU Mississippi State game. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Let's get the weekend picks. All right, let's get the picks for this weekend.
Which is going to be up on
We're
the screen.
going-
Will my
yep.
picks be up there?
No, we aren't going to do the pick. We can actually.
Let me pull this bitch up.
I'm gonna have to log in.
Fucking 80s are good.
You guys take over real quick.
I'm going to get fat real quick if we don't mind.
Well, so I guess while we're getting ready to set up for this weekend picks, the breaking news of today was that Notre Dame had 3 cases for COVID on their team, and many in the morning were wondering whether they were gonna, postpone the game, cancel it, or whatnot. And they did actually confirm that they're gonna postpone the game. I don't know if they're just gonna replay it later in the year.
Yeah.
But their game versus Wake has been postponed, which I was kind of interested in seeing only because Wake Forest offense did kind of get rolling last week, so I was really wanting to see how they do against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Because I'm waiting. There's going to be a game that threatens Notre Dame a little bit, and I'm waiting for it because I want to see how they handle an actual tough ACC competition.
I really Notre Dame and Miami play each other, right?
No,
Fuck.
they got lucky. They avoided us this year.
Because I think Notre Dame's defense is the best thing about their football team,
Yeah.
which would be a great matchup.
All right, so let's get into our picks for this weekend. So we're 2 weeks late starting this, okay? But cut us some slack.
Shut up.
We're trying to get this thing going on the fly as Luke's joking.
Keep your opinions to yourselves, all right? We do it when we want what we want.
So
All right.
Obviously, you guys see these are my picks up on the board.
Wash it down with some beer.
Okay. So, first game, Kentucky, Auburn.
I think he's dying, but continue with the
Darby, which way are you going on this?
You know, I'm taking the upset, Kentucky. I really like. I really like what Kentucky's got. I've said it multiple times. I'm just not a fan of Gus Malzahn. He wins those kind of bigger games. That kind of saves his freaking job. But this just seems like a Gus Malzahn slip-up kind of game. I think Kentucky's got the weapons to do it. So personally, I'm taking Kentucky over Auburn, which I know you don't like because they were your sleeper pick. But
yeah, I think Bo Nix is the only reason I have confidence in Auburn.
you shouldn't have got these jelly beans out.
So,
Fuck did you do to me?
you think I'm worried about that?
Oh, okay. No, I'm just saying. I'm just gonna keep.
So, yes. So,
Just make
Luke,
sure you chew.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
how about you? Kentucky, Auburn.
Kentucky? No doubt about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, their offense is rolling.
Okay. So, let's go down. Louisville, Pittsburgh. What you got on that one, Luke?
Fucking, I don't know enough about Pitt. I'm going to take Louisville.
So actually, this was a tough choice for me.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh does have a stellar defense. And I actually can't wait for their matchup, which I and hopefully maybe you or somebody else will be attending with me down in Miami. It'll be my first Miami trip. But I am taking Louisville. I expect a bounce back game, and I did like what I saw from their offense against Miami. So I'm taking Louisville.
And I agree. I'm going to be taking Louisville, but I do have a player to watch for Pittsburgh. Defensive back by the name of Ford. Dude's a player. He comes downhill. He hits. He makes tackles in the open field. Good coverage guy. Had a pick last week. A really good diving pick. So he is a guy to watch out for Pittsburgh.
Wow.
So
These jelly beans are going to be gone.
I'm sorry. I'm just still laughing about his fucking almost dying.
Oh, yeah.
moving on. So Florida Gators versus Ole Miss. Where are you leaning towards on this one, Darby? I want to hit you.
I'm
first
taking
on this
Florida. So my preseason pick before this year was Florida winning the SEC. I am still fully committed to them winning. I'll see their later on matchups, but I like them against Ole Miss. I don't think Lane Kiffin's at Ole Miss, right? And then
Yep.
What's his face is at Mississippi State. I don't think that Lane Kiffin will get that rolling yet. So I definitely like Florida in that game.
Luke, how about you?
I'm going to take the Gators.
Yep, I'm right there with you. So now down to the first one. Well, other than the Pittsburgh game, another one that I was kind of tied on. Iowa State, TCU. I'm going to have to take TCU after watching Iowa State lay an egg and lose a game that they should not have lost. So, against Louisiana Raging Cajuns. So, Darby, where are you heading on this one as you fucking drop my jelly beans
I didn't
on the
drop
floor?
it. We're good. So I'm actually rolling with the Cyclones. I think it's gonna be a nice bounce back game. I like their defense. I don't think TCU's played yet. Correct. This would be their first game.
Yes.
I like that Iowa State, even though it was a loss, has played their game already. And I think that loss will motivate them. I think they might have been a little too high on themselves coming into that game against our Raging Cajuns.
Yes, sir.
And I do also think Louisiana is a better team than people think.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying they're better than TCU. I just think they're a tougher challenge than you
Oh,
think.
they just had a really
So
close
I
game.
am rolling with the Cyclones on a bounce back game, beating TCU.
All right. Luke?
Give me... I think Iowa State, but what did I pick, though? I don't know if I think I picked TCU just because I like TCU. Pretty sure that's what I picked.
Well, man,
And then I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I actually like Iowa State, too.
You can go back and
I like
change your
their
pick.
so you can change
I
your
might.
picks. So just whatever
think I
you
might
stick
do
with
that.
here, just go with it.
Okay.
I would have just ignorantly picked TCU because I was like, I like their team, but I didn't really.
I like their jerseys.
Yeah, like something stupid like that.
Horned Frogs. Well, anyway, all right. So, this is my upset alert. I got Mississippi State over LSU. That is my upset for this week. And honestly, I think Mike Leach will have
Mississippi State going, and LSU, too many guys to replace. Guys are sick. COVID's going to take a lot out of you. And like Ed Orgeron said, pretty much their entire team had it. I think that's going to be a big factor. I think LSU drops their first one.
I'm taking LSU. My bad. I just think that one, the talent disparity is too great, even regardless of the health concerns on LSU's side. And then also, it's going to take a couple years for Mike Leach to get his system implemented, only because of the players currently on that team. I don't think can really run a full-on air raid offense. I'm not too confident in saying that they can. So I'm rolling with LSU.
Luke?
I'm going to go Mississippi State. Just because, like you said, with LSU losing their guys, I think it's really hard to have a solid offensive line together when you lose that many starters. You know, that's 4 new guys having to step up and start this season. And then along with that, this whole offense I felt like was really geared behind their ability to pass protect, which maybe that might still be the case, but this is going to be their first game.
Yeah.
And I think Mississippi State's going to get after that ass. So I'd say Mississippi State takes away on this one.
Awesome. So, another one that was really hard for me to pick. I do really like West Virginia, but I think Oklahoma State, the thing that really won me over with them, they have a wide receiver that is really impressive.
Put these away.
He's only
Okay.
he's only like 6 foot, 205, maybe 215,
Yeah.
but he's a very, very physical guy. He goes up and gets it. He fights with corners. He had some really impressive catches and plays this past week. I'm taking Oklahoma State.
I'm WVU, baby. And it's not because I was unimpressed with how Oklahoma State played this past week. It's more because I'm more sold on West Virginia's offense than I was coming into the season. I thought they looked fantastic week 2 when I got to watch them. So I'm riding with the Mountaineers.
I'm going to go Mountaineers just because I'm a homer.
Yeah.
And I've always liked West Virginia. And
Now-
they used to be part of the Big East.
Yeah.
That's my reasoning
Allegiance.
behind all
Now
this,
I
yeah.
do think this game's gonna be a shootout.
Yeah,
This will be your first true shootout.
it's going to be a close game for sure. But man, I have some resentment for the state of West Virginia right now after driving through it down and back. I just
Did you get pulled over?
no.
A lot of hills.
Fuck. Dude, I had to drive through that state and all those mountains in a fucking hurricane. Well, the remnants of a hurricane. It literally rained. I mean, poured from north of Charleston, West Virginia, all the way to south of Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was fucking brutal. Okay, so
Was it worth the seafood though?
oh, it was worth
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
it.
Here's the big one.
Luke, I think we're all kind of consensus on this one. Cincinnati's defense needs to step it up, but I think they get the W against Army.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take our Cincinnati Bearcats. I'm not gonna do that to you because I.
You're welcome to do it.
no,
It's okay.
I don't think Army State. I'd love to rep my my Black Knights, but definitely Cincinnati. This is an overwhelming game.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati's going to be able to win this. They're going to build off of what they were working on this past game. I really hope their fucking defense can tighten it up a little bit, but overall, Army's not a team with like top tier speed that would burn us out, so I think we're going to be fine.
All right. Now we got a little bit of a rivalry game coming at us. Texas Tech. Obviously, I think Texas is my pick to win the Big 12 over Oklahoma this year. Sam Ehlinger, I think the dude he's too good. I don't think Texas drops this one.
Yeah, I think Texas wins. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
They got more depth, they got better players, more physical. But it's a rivalry game. You never know what could happen here.
Well, I got news for the Red Raiders. This isn't a Sun Belt game, and Texas is gonna roll this team. I really think, very confident that Texas is gonna roll them bad.
Yeah.
Like, who's the coaching staff for Texas Tech?
Who
No
cares?
clue.
Honestly, you don't get any respect from me after that performance.
Yeah.
So, all right. Now, this was another tough one for me to pick. But I got Tennessee over South Carolina.
Really?
I like where things are trending in Tennessee with the coaching staff that they brought in. I'm excited to see what they can do with it. Now, in typical Volunteer fashion, I would expect high expectations and then them shit the bucket. But until that happens, I'm taking Tennessee.
I'm taking option B that you just said for that exact reason. I'm going with South Carolina. Tennessee's like, that team that's got to prove it to me. I don't feel confident picking them. I'm definitely sold on the Gamecocks, so I'm not ready to pick the Tennessee yet.
All right.
I'm not on the hype train.
I'm gonna go with you on Tennessee. I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and take that. Yeah, I'm excited to see how they can do.
I would really like to see them return to the national spotlight.
I just haven't heard of any weapons at South Carolina.
Well, I mean, South Carolina is always one of those median teams that can take a game off of the top end, or at least challenge to take a game off of a top end team. So,
Whatever happened to that solid defensive lineman they had? Way back.
You mean Jadeveon Clowney?
Yeah, where's he at?
He just
He
got
just
signed
signed
with the
with the
Tennessee Titans.
Damn, I haven't seen him. I haven't seen anything on him in a while.
Yeah. Well, that's because he had a bunch of issues down in Houston. But let's move on to the other game of the weekend. I think we all know where this one's going. Miami.
Yeah.
Easy.
Miami.
That's
All right, so Miami by 31.
31.
I said 20
31.
against Louisville. It should have been. I'm going 31. I think this game. Mike Norvell can't coach this week. He's got COVID, so they don't have their head coach. Even if they had their head coach, I wouldn't even give him like 3 more points. I'd probably give him maybe 3 more points on that. I think this game's gonna get ugly.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be a blowout.
I want to say that it's not because it's a rivalry game and he should scratch the records, but I think this game will be ugly.
I'm gonna say Miami by 25.
Those
Really?
are the first
Okay.
ones.
I won't say.
I'll give him 28. I'll hit the median on that one.
Okay.
So, moving down. And somebody really surprised me on this pick earlier. North Carolina State, Virginia Tech. I'm taking Virginia Tech in a blowout. North Carolina State just barely beat Wake Forest this past weekend. I think those are the two bottom dwellers of the conference.
I'm taking NC State. So I'm still not sold on Justin Fuente. I'm not that sold on Virginia Tech this year in general, just due to attrition. And I know they barely scraped away, but it was a 45-point win, for them. So I like their offense. I like how they looked. So
I don't like NC State was not impressive to me.
I'm gonna take Virginia Tech. Purely based off the fact that I mean, you said the offense might have been doing well and might have been impressive, but I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, they haven't done anything amazing, neither has Virginia Tech. Oh, is that me? My bad. But yeah, I'm going to take Virginia Tech.
All right, sounds good. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this episode this week. We'll be right back with you next week for recapping this weekend and looking forward to week 5 games.
And real quick before we get off here, we all have our Twitters up for the first time.
Yes.
Instagram.
Great point.
Make sure you guys give us a follow. We're gonna try to be dropping some heat, especially during game days. I'm gonna be up here talking shit. Florida State fans want to come and talk some shit while we beat your ass. I'd love it. But just make sure you hit us up on all this stuff. We're definitely willing to chat with you guys on there.
The socials for our Twitters are and the YouTube channel are on Twitch. For those that are watching on YouTube, our Twitch is Dialed Up Pod.
Which we can put all these links in
and
the YouTube
the-
description. We'll make sure we link you guys in on that.
The links will be in the YouTube description. I promise that. So we appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you're in the Twitch chat, hang around. If you have any questions on games or Big Ten or whatever, any of our teams, we'll be glad to chat with you. But with that. Okay. Now we're going to come back for the Twitch. Let me see if anybody's even in here. View.
Like what, 2?
Nobody. Okay, we're good to end.
Told you.